The red dust of Mars swirled around the excavation site as the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the rocky terrain. Dr. Han Da-Wan stood at the entrance of the cave system, his weathered hands resting on the rock wall as he caught his breath in the thin atmosphere. The air inside his suit felt stale after 12 hours of careful digging and scanning. This particular dig site had proven more promising than the others. Over the past 3 months, his team had uncovered strange symbols etched into the cave walls, symbols that matched no known human or theoretical alien language. The patterns seemed to shift and change depending on the angle of the light, a phenomenon that defied explanation. The research base, nestled in a small valley 2 kilometers away, housed 15 scientists and support staff. They had come expecting to find simple geological formations. Instead, they found mysteries that challenged everything they thought they knew about human history. Dr. Han traced his gloved finger along one of the markings, following its elegant curve. The symbol reminded him of ancient Korean calligraphy, yet it held a complexity that suggested far more advanced origins. His helmet lights illuminated the dark red stone, revealing layers of similar markings stretching deep into the cave. "Another dead end?" asked Kim Ji-ah, his research assistant, as she approached from behind. Her voice crackled through the radio in his helmet. She had been mapping the cave's eastern chamber all morning, looking for any signs of artificial construction. "Not dead," Dr. Han replied. "Just quiet. These markings, they're organized too perfectly to be natural. Someone made these, Jia. Someone with purpose." Jia moved closer, her suit's lights adding to the illumination. The dating results came back from the base lab. The rock face is at least 100,000 years old, but the engravings... She paused, double-checking her tablet. "They're the same age as the rock. That's impossible." Dr. Han was about to respond when a faint humming sound filled the cave. At first, he thought it was equipment feedback, but the vibration grew stronger, making the dust dance across the floor. The markings on the wall began to emit a soft blue glow. "Are you seeing this?" Jia whispered, her voice filled with wonder. She reached out to touch one of the glowing symbols. "Jia, wait," Dr. Han started to say, but her gloved hand had already made contact with the wall. The humming intensified. Lines of blue light spread outward from where Jia had touched, forming a complex geometric pattern across the entire wall. Then, with a sound like ancient stone grinding against stone, a section of the wall began to move. "Dr. Han, you need to see this immediately," Jia called out, backing away as the wall continued to shift. The opening revealed a vast chamber that stretched far beyond their light's reach. As they stood there, frozen in amazement, the chamber began to illuminate itself. Rows of lights activated along the floors and ceiling, revealing technology that neither scientist could comprehend. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, filling the air with 3-dimensional star maps and what appeared to be vessel schematics. The images rotated slowly, showing ships of impossible size and design. Text scrolled across the displays in the same language as the wall markings. "This predates everything we know," Jia whispered, her eyes wide with wonder as she slowly turned in a circle, taking in the magnificent sight. "This is at least 100,000 years old." Dr. Han moved deeper into the chamber, his scientific mind racing to process what he was seeing. The technology before them was far beyond current human capabilities. The holographic displays alone represented technological achievements that Earth's best scientists had only dreamed of. "Get the rest of the team," he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "And contact Earth. They need to know what we found." As Jia hurried back toward the cave entrance, Dr. Han approached one of the larger displays. The star map it showed was familiar. It was their galaxy, but with thousands of marked locations he didn't recognize. As he watched, the map zoomed in on their solar system, highlighting similar facilities hidden throughout their cosmic neighborhood. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a random alien outpost. The genetic scanner by the entrance had responded to their human DNA. This facility, this technology, had been waiting for them, waiting for humans to find it. Dr. Han realized they hadn't just made an archaeological discovery. They had found humanity's forgotten legacy, buried in the red sands of Mars. And something told him this was only the beginning. The humming of the facility grew stronger, as if the ancient technology was slowly waking from a long slumber. In that moment, Dr. Han knew that human history was about to be rewritten, and he and Jaya were standing at the beginning of humanity's next great chapter. The morning sky over Seoul turned an unnatural shade of purple as the first shadows appeared. Commander Lee Soo-bin stood at the command center's window, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the massive shapes emerge from behind Earth's moon. The Global Defense Force headquarters buzzed with frantic activity as officers rushed between stations, their voices tight with barely controlled panic. "Multiple objects detected, Commander," called out Officer Park from his monitoring station. "Size estimates are, this can't be right." He double-checked his readings, his face pale. "The smallest one is roughly the size of Manhattan." Soo-bin kept her expression neutral, though her heart raced. The alien vessels moved with impossible grace for their size, their dark hulls reflecting no light. As they approached Earth's orbit, more emerged from behind them, until the sky was filled with their presence. "Get me a direct line to the Security Council," she ordered, turning from the window. "And someone wake up the president. They need to." Her words cut off as every screen in the command center went dark. The lights flickered, and a deep hum filled the air. When the displays came back online, they all showed the same image: a tall, gray-skinned figure with multiple eyes arranged in a circular pattern. "People of Earth," the figure spoke, its voice translated into every human language simultaneously. "I am Supreme Commander Cax of the Galactic Federation. Your recent activities on Mars have forced our hand." Soo-bin's mind raced to the reports from the Mars expedition. The discovery of the ancient facility had changed everything they thought they knew about human history. And now, barely 3 months later, these visitors had arrived. "Track their energy signatures," she ordered quietly to her team. "I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." The alien continued speaking, its multiple eyes blinking in an unsettling pattern. "Humans, you were once mighty. We helped end that era. Submit within 2 planetary rotations, or face extinction." The command center erupted in whispers. Soo-bin raised her hand for silence, her eyes fixed on the secondary displays showing energy readings from across the solar system. Something wasn't right. The alien ships were powerful, yes, but there were other energy spikes appearing. From Mars, from the moon, from deep under Earth's oceans. "Commander," Officer Park called out, his voice shaking. "We're detecting massive power surges from all the ancient sites. The readings, they're off the charts." Soo-bin moved to his station, studying the data. The energy signatures were unlike anything they'd seen before, but they matched patterns found in the Mars facility's database. Something was responding to the alien presence, something old and powerful. "Keep monitoring those signatures," she ordered, "and get me everything we have on the Mars facility's defensive systems." The alien commander's image disappeared from the screens, leaving behind a countdown clock showing just under 48 hours. Soo-bin turned to address her team, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Listen carefully," she began. "We've trained for first contact scenarios, but this is different. These aliens know us. They know our history, a history we're only beginning to uncover. But they're afraid of something, and I think we just found out what." She pulled up the energy readings on the main display. "These signatures are spreading. Whatever our ancestors left behind, it's waking up. Our job now is to understand it before they do." The next hour was a blur of activity. Reports flooded in from around the world as more ancient sites activated. Under the Pacific Ocean, a facility similar to the one on Mars had begun powering up. In the Antarctic ice, something massive was stirring. Su-bin coordinated with scientific teams worldwide, gathering data and attempting to understand the awakening systems. The alien ships remained in orbit, their presence a constant reminder of the deadline hanging over humanity. "Commander," a young officer called out. "Dr. Han from the Mars expedition is on the line. He says the facility is responding to the threat. The technology is activating on its own." Su-bin took the call, listening intently as Dr. Han explained what was happening. The ancient systems weren't just defensive. They were part of something much larger, a legacy left behind by their ancestors, waiting for the right moment to reawaken. As she ended the call, Su-bin noticed new energy signatures appearing throughout the solar system. Whatever was awakening, it wasn't just on Earth. Their ancestors had left their technology everywhere, hidden but not gone. The alien ships above seemed to notice too. Their formation shifted, becoming more defensive. They had come expecting to find a primitive civilization, but instead they had triggered something their own ancestors had feared. Su-bin smiled slightly as she watched the energy readings continue to climb. Humanity might have forgotten its past, but that past had not forgotten them. The next 48 hours would change everything if they could understand their inheritance in time. The lunar dust settled softly around Park Min-ho's boots as he made his way through the underground chamber of Lunar Base Alpha. The emergency lights cast long shadows across the ancient walls, their surfaces now alive with the same pulsing blue energy they had discovered on Mars. His handheld scanner beeped continuously, its readings climbing higher with each passing minute. "These energy levels are impossible," he muttered to himself, adjusting the scanner settings for the fourth time. The device was built to measure normal power outputs, but what he saw now went far beyond its designed limits. The floor beneath him trembled, causing loose moon rocks to dance across the surface. Min-ho steadied himself against a wall, watching in amazement as lines of light began spreading through the ground like glowing veins. The patterns matched exactly what they'd found in the Mars facility, but the scale here was vastly different. "Director Song," he called into his radio, trying to keep his voice steady. "Director Song, you need to see this immediately." Song Harry's voice crackled through his headset. "I'm monitoring from the control room, Min-ho. The energy signatures are off the charts. What exactly are you seeing down there?" Before he could answer, a deep rumbling sound filled the chamber. The floor began to shift, panels of ancient metal sliding apart to reveal vast depths below. Min-ho backed away, his heart pounding as he watched the transformation. "Director Song, the entire floor is transforming. These aren't ruins, they're hangars." His voice rose with excitement and disbelief. "The whole complex, it's some kind of massive docking station." The chamber continued to change around him. Walls that had appeared solid for thousands of years separated, revealing corridors and rooms filled with technology. Holographic displays sprang to life, showing what appeared to be status reports in the ancient script they'd been struggling to decode. More staff arrived from other parts of the base, their expressions a mixture of awe and fear as they watched the facility awaken. The air hummed with energy as ancient systems powered up, responding to some silent call that seemed to echo across the solar system. "Min-ho," Director Song's voice was urgent now. "We're getting reports from every research site in the system. The Mars facility, the Venus outpost, the Europa station. They're all activating. Something is triggering them all at once." He made his way to a central platform that had risen from the floor. As he approached, it lit up, responding to his presence. A holographic display appeared, showing the solar system in perfect detail. Red dots indicated what he assumed were other facilities, all pulsing with the same energy signature. "It's like they're talking to each other," he said, watching the data streams flow between the marked locations. "The whole system is connecting, coordinating something." The platform suddenly projected a new image: massive ships, unlike anything humans had built. But these weren't the alien vessels currently orbiting Earth. These designs matched the architecture around him. the same technology they'd found buried across the solar system. Director Minho's voice was barely a whisper now. I think I know what these hangars are for. They're not empty. There's something down there. As if in response to his words, the floor continued to open wider, revealing immense shapes in the darkness below. Automatic lighting systems activated, illuminating what lay beneath. Minho's breath caught in his throat as he saw them. Ships, hundreds of them, sleeping in their ancient berths. The aliens, he said, understanding dawning. They didn't come here because of what we found on Mars. They came because they knew what would happen when we found it. These ships, this technology, it's all been waiting for us. More systems activated around him, each one adding to the growing energy signature that now pulsed through the lunar base. In the distance, he could hear massive machinery coming to life, maintenance systems beginning work that had been paused for millennia. Director Song, we need to get every engineer and scientist we have down here. These aren't just defensive systems. This is a fleet. Our fleet. And I think it's waking up. The ancient facility continued its transformation, revealing more of its secrets with each passing moment. Minho stood at the center of it all, watching as humanity's forgotten legacy stirred from its long slumber. Above them, the alien ships maintained their threatening orbit around Earth, unaware that their arrival had triggered exactly what their ancestors had tried to prevent: the return of humanity's ancient power. As Minho worked to understand the awakening systems, he couldn't help but smile. The next few hours would change the course of human history, and he was standing at the heart of it all. Waves crashed against the outer walls of the underwater research station as Dr. Choi Yu-jin rushed through the brightly lit corridors. The facility, hidden beneath 3 kilometers of Pacific Ocean, had been discovered just weeks after the Mars site. Now, as alien ships loomed above the Earth, its secrets were finally beginning to make sense. Run the sequence again, she called to her team as she entered the main laboratory. The room hummed with energy from the ancient systems they'd restored. Banks of modern computers interfaced with technology that predated known human civilization by tens of thousands of years. The central platform glowed as another researcher pressed their hand against it. Nothing happened. Then Yu-jin stepped forward, placing her own palm on the smooth surface. The platform immediately lit up, holographic displays springing to life around her. There, she said, pointing to the data streaming across the screens. Look at the genetic markers. The system isn't just scanning for human DNA. It's looking for specific sequences. Her colleague, Dr. Lee, leaned closer to study the results. These sequences, they're in all of us? How is that possible? Yu-jin pulled up another display, showing a complex genetic map. We've been looking at human evolution backward. These aren't random mutations or natural selection. They're design markers passed down through countless generations. The implications made Dr. Lee step back, his eyes wide. You're saying we were engineered? Not exactly, Yu-jin replied, moving through the data with practiced ease. We're their descendants. The markers are like a key, passed down from parent to child. The technology recognizes us because we're family. Emergency alarms blared through the facility, warning of another activation sequence. More systems were coming online every hour, each one responding to human presence in ways they were only beginning to understand. Dr. Choi, a voice called over the intercom. The emergency council is assembled. They're waiting for your report. Yu-jin gathered her data tablets and hurried to the communication center. The large screen showed faces of military leaders and scientists from around the world, all waiting to understand what was happening in their ancient facilities. Dr. Choi, General Park's voice was tense. We have less than 24 hours before the aliens' deadline. Please tell me you have something. She took a deep breath, organizing her thoughts. What I'm about to tell you will change everything we thought we knew about human history. The genetic analysis is clear. We didn't evolve from primitive ancestors, she explained, sharing her data across the network. We're the descendants of a civilization that once ruled the stars. These facilities aren't just military installations. They're our heritage. The council room erupted in voices, but Yu Jin continued. The technology isn't just responding to us. It's teaching us. Every system we activate adds to our understanding. It's like remembering something you forgot long ago. She showed them neural scans from facility workers. Look at these patterns. When we interact with the ancient systems, our brains light up in ways we've never seen before. Parts of our DNA that we thought were inactive are suddenly expressing themselves. Are you saying these facilities are changing us? Someone asked, concern evident in their voice. No, Yu Jin replied firmly. They're waking up what was always there. The aliens didn't come because they found us. They came because they knew what we would remember. More alarms sounded as another system activated. Through the reinforced windows, Yu Jin could see massive machinery moving in the ocean depths, ancient engines powering up after millennia of silence. We're not just finding our history, she continued. We're remembering who we are. Every facility that activates, every system that comes online. They're all part of a legacy left specifically for us. For this moment. The council members watched in silence as she showed them more data, more proof of humanity's true heritage. Their ancestors hadn't vanished. They had planned for this, seeding their descendants across Earth, waiting for the day their children would return to the stars. The aliens who arrived, Yu Jin said softly. They called themselves the Galactic Federation. But the data we're uncovering suggests they were once our enemies. They didn't help end our era of greatness. They're afraid we'll reclaim it. As if to emphasize her words, the facility shuddered as another ancient system awakened. Through the windows, lights began appearing in the dark ocean, spreading outward like a web of stars. We have a choice to make, she told the council. Our ancestors left us everything we need. Their knowledge, their technology, their power. But they also left us their mistakes to learn from. The question isn't whether we can reclaim our place among the stars. The question is, what will we do once we have? The facility continued to awaken around them, each new system adding to the growing understanding of humanity's true heritage. As Yu Jin looked at the faces of Earth's leaders, she saw the same realization in their eyes. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were reclaiming their birthright. Captain Kim Do-hyun floated through the bridge of the ancient vessel, his magnetic boots occasionally touching down to steady himself. The ship had been hidden in the ice of Europa for countless millennia, yet its systems powered up as if they had been used yesterday. Streams of information flowed across holographic displays, their ancient language somehow making perfect sense to him. Status report. He called to his small crew, each chosen for their ability to interface with the recovered technology. The ship hummed around them, its massive engines warming up for the first time in 100,000 years. Main systems at 60% and climbing, replied Lieutenant Park from her station. Her hands moved across the controls with increasing confidence, as though she had done this 1,000 times before. It's like the ship is showing me what to do. Do-hyun understood exactly what she meant. Since stepping aboard, his mind had filled with knowledge he couldn't possibly have learned. Ship systems, weapon capabilities, navigation protocols. They flowed into his consciousness as naturally as breathing. The ship, it's teaching me, he reported back to Earth Control. These vessels, they recognize us. They're coming back online faster than the aliens can respond. Through the bridge's vast viewing window, he watched as more ships emerged from their ancient hiding places, from beneath the ice of Europa, from Saturn's rings, from the clouds of Jupiter. Massive vessels of impossible design rose from their long slumber. "Sir," called out Officer Lee, his voice filled with wonder. "Long-range sensors are picking up more activations, thousands of them, all across the solar system." The ship's displays showed him the truth of those words. Their vessel wasn't alone. It was part of a vast fleet, hidden away by their ancestors. Each ship was larger than anything humanity had built in modern times, their technology beyond current understanding. "Control, are you seeing this?" Du Hyun asked, watching as another vessel emerged from Europa's ice. The fleet, it's bigger than we imagined. The response from Earth was filled with static, but clear enough. We see them, Captain. The alien Federation ships are changing formation. They appear to be backing away. Do Hyun smiled slightly. Of course they were backing away. Their ancestors had left them more than just ships. They had left them a force that had once commanded respect across the galaxy. Engineering reports all systems nominal, Lieutenant Park announced. The ship's AI is fully online. It's interfacing with the other vessels as they activate. More ships appeared, their ancient hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Du Hyun felt the knowledge of their capabilities flowing into his mind. These weren't simple warships. They were the pinnacle of human achievement, built by a civilization that had mastered the stars. Launch primary systems, he ordered, feeling the ship respond to his commands as though it were an extension of his own body. Bring us into formation with the others. The massive vessel moved with impossible grace, its engines quiet yet powerful. Around them, more ships joined their position, forming a defense screen between Earth and the alien fleet. Sir, Officer Lee called out, the alien vessels are transmitting. They're requesting permission to withdraw. Do Hyun watched through the viewing window as the alien ships began to retreat. Their threats of extinction had vanished in the face of humanity's awakening power. But this wasn't about revenge or domination. It was about reclaiming their place among the stars. Earth control, he transmitted. The ancient fleet is fully operational. We're reading over 5,000 vessels active and more awakening every hour. The ship's database is teaching us their capabilities. They're far beyond anything we imagined. The knowledge continued to flow into his mind. Star maps, navigation routes, weapon systems that could reshape reality itself. But with that knowledge came understanding. Their ancestors hadn't hidden this fleet out of fear or defeat. They had waited for the right moment, for their descendants to be ready. All ships maintain defensive positions, he ordered, watching as the fleet moved in perfect coordination. We're not here to conquer. We're here to protect. The alien Federation ships continued their withdrawal, their earlier bravado replaced by what seemed like genuine fear. They had expected to find a primitive civilization. Instead, they had awakened humanity's full potential. As Du Hyun stood on the bridge of humanity's past and future, he felt the weight of the moment. Their ancestors had left them more than just weapons and ships. They had left them a choice, to learn from history or repeat it. Earth control, he transmitted. The fleet awaits your orders. But remember, we're not just reclaiming our technology. We're reclaiming our responsibility to use it wisely. The ancient arsenal had awakened, and with it, humanity's true destiny among the stars. The question now was not whether they could control such power, but whether they had learned enough to use it better than their ancestors had. Professor Yoon Eun-ji's fingers flew across the ancient console as streams of data flowed through the underground facility. The walls around her pulsed with soft blue light, responding to her presence as she worked to decode the final encrypted messages left by their ancestors. Emergency lights cast long shadows through the vast chamber as more systems activated with each passing minute. Scattered around her workstation, holographic displays showed the ancient fleet taking position throughout the solar system. The alien Federation ships continued their slow retreat, their earlier threats forgotten in the face of humanity's awakening power. Almost there, she muttered, her eyes scanning the complex patterns of symbols. The language had seemed impossible to understand just days ago, but now it flowed through her mind like a half-remembered song. Each new piece of data added to the growing picture of humanity's true history. Professor Yoon called out her assistant. The Security Council is assembled. They're waiting for your report. Eun-ji nodded, gathering her findings. The walk to the command center gave her time to organize her thoughts. The truth she had uncovered would change everything they thought they knew about their past and their future. The command center buzzed with activity as she entered. Screens showed the ancient fleet's movements, while others displayed data from awakening facilities across the solar system. The room fell quiet as she approached the central platform. "Professor," General Park's voice was tense. "You said you found something in the records, something about why our ancestors disappeared." Young-ji took a deep breath, activating her presentation display. "What I'm about to tell you will change how we see ourselves. Our ancestors didn't fall because of the aliens," she announced to the assembled leaders. "They chose to start over. The Federation didn't defeat us. They took advantage of our voluntary regression." The room erupted in whispers, but she continued. "The records are clear. Our civilization had grown too powerful, too quickly. We had mastered technologies that could reshape reality itself. But with that power came consequences we weren't ready to handle." She showed them images from the ancient archives, worlds transformed by human technology, stars harnessed for energy, entire systems reshaped to suit human needs. But with each image of progress came warnings, records of mistakes, and near disasters. "Our ancestors faced a choice," she explained. "Continue down a path that might lead to catastrophe, or take a step back. Start over. Build a foundation of wisdom before power." The displays showed new images, the construction of the hidden facilities, the careful planning that went into humanity's voluntary regression. "They didn't abandon us," Yunji said softly. "They protected us, gave us time to grow, to learn, to develop the wisdom they felt they had gained too late." She brought up the final decoded messages, their meaning now clear. "They left us everything we would need. Their knowledge, their technology, their power. But they also left us the choice of when and how to use it." The room was silent as the implications sank in. The Alien Federation hadn't defeated humanity. They had simply filled the power vacuum left behind when humanity chose to step back from the galactic stage. "But why now?" someone asked. "Why leave us these tools if they feared we would misuse them?" Yunji smiled. "Because they believed in us, in their descendants. They left markers in our genetic code, waiting to activate when we faced our first real challenge as a species. The Alien Federation's arrival wasn't a threat. It was the test our ancestors planned for." She showed them more data, revealing the careful planning that had gone into humanity's resurrection. Every step of our development was watched over. The technology wasn't just waiting for us to find it. It was waiting for us to be ready for it. "And are we ready?" General Park asked quietly. "How do we know we won't make the same mistakes they did?" "Because we're asking that question," Yunji replied. "Our ancestors gave us something more valuable than technology. They gave us the chance to learn from their experiences, to choose our path forward with open eyes." The displays showed the ancient fleet, now fully awakened, holding position throughout the solar system. In orbit above Earth, the Alien Federation ships continued their withdrawal, their threats forgotten in the face of humanity's true heritage. "We have a choice to make," Yunji told the assembled leaders. "Our ancestors left us all their power, but they also left us their wisdom. The question isn't whether we'll reclaim our place among the stars. It's what kind of civilization we'll choose to become." As if in response to her words, new systems activated throughout the facility, each one adding to humanity's growing understanding of their inheritance. Their ancestors hadn't just left them weapons and ships. They had left them a second chance to get it right. The ancient arsenal had awakened, but with it came the wisdom to use it properly. Now it was up to their descendants to prove they had learned the lessons of the past. The ancient fleet moved in perfect formation, their massive hulls gleaming in the starlight as Admiral Lee Subin watched from the command bridge of the flagship. The vessel responded to her thoughts almost before she formed them, its systems working in harmony with her enhanced understanding. Behind her fleet, Earth shone like a blue jewel. Ahead, the Alien Federation ships held their position, their earlier threats replaced by uncertain silence. The knowledge flowing through Subin's mind told her exactly what her ships could do, and why they shouldn't. "All vessels, maintain defensive positions," she ordered, feeling the fleet respond as one. The ships moved with impossible grace, their technology operating on principles that modern science was only beginning to grasp. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "the alien fleet is showing energy spikes. They might be preparing to engage." Subin smiled slightly. The aliens didn't understand what they faced. These weren't just warships. They were the pinnacle of human achievement, built by ancestors who had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe itself. "Open a channel to their command ship," she ordered. The communication system responded instantly, creating a link across the void of space. "This is your final warning," she transmitted to the alien fleet. "Leave our space. We remember who we were, but we choose who we will become." The ancient ships moved into an attack formation that had been perfected 100,000 years ago. Their weapons could reshape reality itself, but Subin knew that displaying such power wasn't the same as using it wisely. After a tense moment, the alien ships began to turn. One by one, they engaged their drives, retreating from Earth space. They had come expecting to find a primitive civilization. Instead, they had awakened humanity's full potential. As the last alien ship disappeared into the darkness, cheers erupted throughout the fleet. But Subin remained quiet, thoughtful. Their ancestors had left them this power for a reason, not to dominate, but to protect and grow. Back on Mars, Dr. Han and Jia stood in the cave where their journey had begun. The facility hummed with energy around them, its systems fully awakened after millennia of sleep. "It's hard to believe it all started here," Jia said softly, running her hand along a wall that now pulsed with living light. "Just 3 months ago, we thought we were alone in the universe." Han nodded, watching as new holographic displays activated around them. Star maps appeared, showing thousands of worlds that humans had once called home. Each one waited to be rediscovered, but this time with the wisdom their ancestors had gained through hard experience. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a new display that had appeared. The hologram showed detailed plans, not for weapons or ships, but for gardens in space, for worlds transformed not through force, but through understanding. "They left us more than just their power," Jaya realized. "They left us their dreams." The facility's AI system responded to their presence, sharing more of humanity's forgotten legacy. These weren't just military installations. They were seeds planted by their ancestors, waiting for humanity to grow into its full potential. On Earth, celebrations erupted across every continent. People poured into streets and squares, looking up at skies that now promised not threat, but opportunity. The ancient fleet took up protective positions around their solar system, not as conquerors, but as guardians. In the Global Defense Force headquarters, Commander Subin received the first reports from exploration teams. The awakened technology was already teaching them new ways to travel, to build, to grow. But more importantly, it was teaching them why their ancestors had chosen to start over. "We have a chance to do things differently," she told her officers, "to build something better than what came before." The stars above Earth sparkled with new promise. Humanity had reclaimed its heritage. But the real challenge lay ahead. They had to prove they could handle the power their ancestors had left them, not through force, but through wisdom. As night fell over Mars, Han and Jia prepared to return to their base. The facility around them continued to share its secrets, each one a step on humanity's new path forward. A final hologram activated, showing a message left by their ancestors. "To our children's children, we give you not just our power, but our hope. The stars are your birthright, but wisdom must be your guide. Your journey begins now." The message faded, but its meaning remained. Humanity's resurgence wasn't just about reclaiming their place among the stars. It was about choosing what kind of civilization they would become. Their journey wasn't ending. It was just beginning.